Hey there! If you're trying to make sense of the real estate market here in Greater Baton Rouge, you are in exactly the right place. We put together this explainer to really cut through the noise and show you what the latest numbers actually mean for you. Let's jump in.
You know, those market reports can be a lot. All that jargon and those confusing charts, it can make your head spin. So our goal today is simple. We're going to translate that data into clear, simple insights that you can actually use, whether you're thinking about buying, selling, or just want to keep an eye on your investment.
So, here's our game plan. First, we'll get a feel for the market as a whole. Then, we'll dive into 3 key numbers: inventory, prices, and pace. And finally, we'll talk about how you can use all this info to make your best move.
Okay, so first things first. Before we get into all the nitty-gritty numbers, let's just get a sense of the market. What's the big picture? What's the overall vibe out there for buyers and sellers right now?
It's really important you know where we're getting our information. We're not just pulling numbers out of thin air. This all comes directly from the official February 2026 reports from the Greater Baton Rouge Association of Realtors. So this is the best, most up-to-date data there is, and we're here to break it all down for you.
So what's the big headline? Well, the main takeaway from the report is a pretty big deal. You know, after that absolutely frantic pace we saw during the pandemic, the market is finally starting to find a more normal, more sustainable rhythm. It's shifting from that wild ride into a much healthier, more balanced state.
So what does a balanced market really look like in practice? Well, let's start with our first key metric, inventory. This is all about supply and demand, plain and simple. How many homes are actually up for sale right now?
Okay, before we show you the number, we got to talk about this term you hear a lot: months supply of inventory. Sounds complicated, right? It's not, I promise. Just imagine that starting today, not a single new home was listed for sale. This number tells us how many months it would take to sell every single house that's currently on the market. It's a really great way to measure how tight things are.
So here's where we are. Last year in February, we had about a 4.3-month supply of homes. This year, it's dipped just a tiny bit to 4.2 months. Now, I know that doesn't sound like a huge change, but what it tells us is that the market has actually gotten a little bit tighter. There are slightly fewer homes available for all the buyers out there looking. So what does this mean for you? Well, if you're a buyer, that 4.2-month supply means you're probably still going to face some competition, especially for those really desirable homes. And if you're a seller, this is fantastic news. It just confirms that it is still a very favorable market to sell in, and your home is an incredibly valuable asset.
All right, let's switch gears and talk about the one thing that's on everybody's mind: money. What is happening with home prices here in the Greater Baton Rouge area? So we always look at the median sales price, not the average, and there's a really good reason for that. The median is the exact middle point. Half of all homes sold for more than this number, and half sold for less. It gives us a much more accurate picture, because it isn't thrown off by a few super expensive luxury home sales.
And would you look at this growth? The median sales price has jumped from just under $260,000 last year all the way up to $278,500 this February. That's a 7.2% increase. And what's really amazing is that this happened even with higher interest rates, which just goes to show how strong the demand for homes in our area really is.
So what's the takeaway here? Well, for buyers, this price increase makes affordability a really central part of the conversation. Getting pre-approved for a loan isn't just a good idea anymore, it's pretty much a critical first step. And for sellers, this is just incredible. It means your home equity has likely grown a lot, which gives you so much more power and more options for whatever you decide to do next. Okay, on to our final piece of the puzzle: the pace of the market. It's not just about if homes are selling, but it's also about how fast they're selling. This number tells us all about the energy and the urgency that's out there right now. The key stat we look at here is called days on market. It's exactly what it sounds like. It's the average number of days from when a home gets listed for sale until the seller accepts an offer and signs a contract. It's the perfect way to measure the speed of the market.
So, right now, the average home goes under contract in 82 days. But get this, last year, it was 83 days. The pace is almost identical. This tells us the market is incredibly consistent and stable. Homes are moving quickly, they're definitely not sitting around for long.
For buyers, the message here could not be clearer. When you find a home you love, you've got to be ready to act fast. And for sellers, if your home is priced right and it's in good condition, you can expect to get serious attention from buyers, and pretty quickly too.
Now, this slide right here is exactly why we always say that all real estate is local. I mean, hyperlocal. Just look at the differences here. In Ascension, homes are selling almost 2 weeks faster than the average. But over in Livingston, the supply of homes is much, much tighter. This is the perfect example of why you need an expert who doesn't just know the regional stats, but who really understands the trends happening street by street in your neighborhood.
So, we've talked about the what, the how much, and the how fast. The last and most important question is, what do you actually do with all this information? Look, understanding these numbers is the first step, and it's a huge one. It gives you power. But turning that knowledge into a successful move for you, one that fits your life, your family, your financial goals, that's the next step. And that's really where having a professional guide makes all the difference in the world.
And that's where we, the team at Home After Home, come in. If you want to talk about how these market trends apply to your specific situation, please don't hesitate to reach out to our broker, Bridget Fredericks. She can connect you with an expert agent who can help you plan your next move with confidence. So, we've seen that the market is balanced but still competitive, and that home values are continuing to go up. Now that you have the insights, there's really only one question left to ask. What's your next move? Thanks so much for watching.